A little bit just about what the event's about. The theme, some of you will have seen, is about connecting and engaging with audiences. Customers, consumers, users, visitors, whatever you call these people, they're all people, they're all sets of people, they're all ranges of people, and they're people that we try to connect with what we do and try to engage with through the things we make, you know, whether they're websites or apps or, you know, other digital things we make. But what do we mean by that? You know, to connect is to establish a communication with that person and to get someone's attention. And when we've got their attention, we then engage with them. We try to occupy their attention in some shape or form, or even better, you know, their mind, or something residual in there, something that makes them coming back. And the focus of this lunch is on the digital side of that. Digital is very much a part of the real world. So what we do in terms of digital exercise is very much about what people do in their lives every day. And how can we use that digital to connect and engage with people? So to discuss that issue, we have a panel of four folk here who I've coerced and persuaded, asked nicely to come here and talk about the issue. And over their career so far, they've worked on a range of services and products that probably have talked to every audience going.
I'm Mark Kelly, I'm a consultant, I'm a C-word, digital freelancer doing most of the strategy for agencies and clients alike, and I've been doing digital, I think, for about 13, 14 years, and 50 years before that doing all things marketing.
Yeah, it seems pointless, doesn't it? Yeah.
It looks good though.
Yeah.
This one working?
It's all right. I'm loud. My name's Lawrence Alexander. I'm head of digital at Logistic, and it's like Mark probably spent the last 12, 13 years in digital. As Simon says, pretty much speaking to every audience possible, ranging from selling dog food to people to selling healthcare to people, which sometimes is the same thing.
Jim?
I'm Jim Moran, I'm Head of Strategic Planning at Fuse. Again, like these guys, about 13, 14 years experience in the industry, working both client and agency side, so I have a few touch points with lots of different types of people.
And I'm Karen Lewis, I'm Client Service Director at Motorbike High. Been in the industry for 12 years, and like these guys, have talked to different communities, different people, engage different audiences over that career.
Okay, so I suppose the first question, nice simple one, very basic, I'm sure you'll answer it quite quickly, is what for you guys is a highly effective modern approach to connection and engagement with audiences through digital? And Mark, if you could kick that one off.
Well, you could make it a really long answer, because defining modern, I think, without getting into kind of cliches, the fact that it's digital means that modern is what's relevant today. Modern tomorrow could be completely different. In 6 months' time, we were talking earlier on, as Lawrence said, there'll be social networks I'm not even aware of, and as I was saying earlier on as well, that there'll be terminology and words to describe things like tweets that we didn't know about a few years ago. So it's really hard to kind of define what modern is. I think modern really is a bit like responsive design in a way when you talk about communication, that it's what will work well from maybe a single brand idea or a marketing proposition, and the modern thinking now is how you can apply that into the most relevant channels. So it's about being fluid. So that's I think that's modern thinking, is not thinking because MySpace worked 2 years ago we should stick with it, because LinkedIn works now we should stick with that. It's that kind of fluidity, I think, or flexibility is the thing that's modern about digital. You still stay on that mindset, I think.
Lawrence?
For me, I suppose to summarise, I could probably take on engage really, word by word. Exactly what you're engaging people in is a really tricky part, because I think we'd say engage, but engage can be anything. You could engage somebody in combat, or you can engage somebody in conversation. I think you really want to decide which one of those you're going to do before you start that tactic. But really, in summary, to answer the question, I think it's actually humanity. That's the thing that is starting to change. That is, for me, a modern, or at least an up-to-date approach to digital engagement. It's no longer about what channel or what technology you're talking about. It's about remembering you're actually speaking to people, and those people are exactly the same people as though you were speaking like we are now, or face-to-face in the street. So you need to treat them with the same respect, the same lessons, the same social cues that you would do with any human-to-human conversation still applies in the digital channel. Jim?
Yeah, I think the two sides to it, connection and engagement, the number of channels that are open to us just keep increasing over time, whether that's offline or digitally. But it is really about connecting with people, that initial contact with them. How do you then turn them into a long-term relationship? Traditionally, if this was an offline business, if it was a shop, you'd build a relationship with somebody over time by getting to know them. And the same applies, I think, digitally, that the more and more the networks that come out there are social, there's an opportunity to engage with people, but more importantly to listen to people and ask and see what they're asking you and to respond to that appropriately. So it isn't really about the channel, it's about how you interact with people.
Karen?
Well, similarly, I've just written down it's not about the channel because I think the key thing that's modern and contemporary trend is the ubiquity of the internet and how it is available on every device, and which informs people's expectation that they should be able to access it. But the key thing is, again, you're talking to people, and people they don't see the difference in silo between I want to engage with this brand in social media and then in a different channel than this is my preferred. They just want to have information when they want it on the go, on their level, on their terms really. So I think the thing that's really contemporary in the modern trend is actually being everywhere, being accessible, being the right message at the right point, at the right touch point, and actually personalising it to be the right thing, to convert them to the right action. So it's being intelligent because consumers won't expect that because of the availability of all messaging and ubiquity of access to web content.
Can I support Karen on that one? I think you probably hit a really good point there, that we use the word engage, but actually no person ever in the real world outside of this room has used the word engage.
Yeah.
They've never gone onto their smartphone to engage with your website, to engage with your brand.
Yeah.
And that, what does engage mean, is exactly that.
Well, it was back to 10, 12 years ago. We were saying we're in the industry this long, but it was new media then. There was a
New media.
distinction that the digital was new, and consumers don't see anything as new, and they don't see the franchising within digital, the specialism that we see in terms of social media experts and digital experts. They just see it as it's media, it's everywhere, it's
Stuff.
it's how I access stuff. And so the contemporary side of it is understanding the consumer's point of view, that I expect that I can get stuff, I can get information, I will get the right information. And actually, the other thing is, because of the immediacy, is their impatience. Because they expect to get it now, and it can bang on, otherwise you've lost their attention. Whereas people were more used to filtering through information and browsing for longer, but now, I'll text something, I'll go on the internet, I'll Google it now, Wikipedia, I have the answer at my fingertips. So I think that's the thing we've got to be mindful of. We're not in control of how we tell them and engage with them. They are in control of how they engage with you.
Totally agree.
And I think on that as well, that people expect more and more. I mean, everyone's talked for years about, from days, I remember days of database marketing, that you get a mailing, you could then ring the call centre, and you expected them to have your details there. I mean, that's the case now even more so, that if I put a comment out on Twitter to a particular brand because I've had a good or a bad experience, or something I just want to sort of get off my chest, that the next time I get either an email, which is still really relevant back from them, I want some kind of reference to that, or if I go onto a Facebook page and I've left a comment, I want them to kind of reference, or I'm expecting more and more to be able to pick up on all the different touch points, because again, it's just that's how I choose. Minute to minute, how, it could be on your phone, it could be then back at home, sat in front of your Mac, your PC. You expect that conversation to continue in all those different channels.
That's that human aspect, isn't
Human
it?
aspect, yeah, it's just
If I
conversations.
speak to you guys face to face, if I phone you guys later after today, don't expect to have to start that conversation all over again. It picks up immediately.
Yeah, I know, I'm old, but yeah. But yeah, absolutely.
Does it really matter then how you identify your audience, and is it that necessary? So one of the things you kind of hinted at, I think, Lawrence, was that people come and find you, don't they, rather than you going to find them?
For me, when it comes to finding an audience, the really, really important part is not necessarily about your audience find you, but it's about being ready in that place for when they find you. So what I always talk about, building a website, lots of people, and the mistake is still made by lots of people, they build a website and then if you build it they will come. Now, there's a whole business sort of in the background behind us where we're trying to say to people, actually that's not the case. And But when it comes to channels, I sort of think in a weird way, you've got to just be ready. That is the case if you do your job properly. You know, the council's there, people Google, definitely. There's some great research to show that between the ages of 13 and 16, one of the top search engines is actually YouTube. So what we're saying is that that channel is very specific. So yeah, you do need to know your audience because you've got to prioritise those channels. You know, if somebody takes something away from this, I would say you've got to do every channel, definitely. You've got to make sure that however somebody wants to contact you, they can. However, identifying your audience lets you prioritise those channels.